Hey, everybody, this is Jeff Allen. This is
Carollynn Xavier.
okay. That's and we are. I don't even know what we're doing, but we're going to try this again. We at the a very good friend of mine. We met a number of years ago, and a golfing buddy. As a matter of fact, we had talked about maybe going out after this podcast to golf. You are celebrating your 40th year in radio. That's amazing to me because you don't look a day over 90.
It's actually 41 now.
Yeah, and a remarkable 35th year in talk radio. We'll get into that. And you have raised over $1.5 million for Nashville Rescue. You are the reason I donate to Nashville Rescue Mission.
That's wonderful.
I heard you on raising money one time on the radio, and I thought, my brother lived on the streets for a while, so I continue to this day. Tens of thousands for Special Forces Charitable Trust and the support of our Green Berets, which is great. Preborn Mission, I also send them money because of your ads. He has featured nationwide fill-in hosts for, these are Hall of Fame broadcasters, Neil Boortz, Glenn Beck, Michael Savage, and now you are on, and I am so proud of this, man. I remember when we golfed, we'll talk about this, when you were in between jobs, and this is cool. You worked in New Orleans, D.C., like most radio people. You've traveled around like a military brat. New Orleans, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and for the last 16 years here in Music City. And your 2004 book, Standing Up for What's Right, looks in depth at many issues that you talk about on the air. Your motto, and I love this, is so much information and so little understanding.
Yeah, that's our problem.
Yeah, and you're known for your clever wit. We'll find out about that. We'll hold that to you.
Hey, you were there the time
Did you write this, by the way? Or
no, but you were there the first time I did stand-up, remember?
Yes, you were. You opened, did
so
my show.
I didn't have enough sense to go, I can't do that. And then the guy came up to me before and said, how many minutes do you plan to do? And I was, I don't know, 20? Yeah. How long do I have?
You're like, I don't know. How
the
many?
guy was like, you have 20 minutes of material? I said, I don't have any material, but I'm ready to start.
You're like, how much time I got till the traffic and weather?
But you guys have all lived this. The first time I did great, and then the second time I bombed, and then there was never a third time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what somebody always asks people in interviews. Have you ever bombed? 46-year career. You want to go, nah, God. I've been on fire since I hit the stage. And I said, you're not a comedian until you bomb. Like you're not a boxer until you get jacked in the face. Once somebody jacks you in the face in the ring, you'll decide, I don't really like this.
Yeah.
So when you humiliate yourself in front of a room.
Well, I wouldn't have had a bad experience, but it was in a small town. And when I got there, it was like, the whole town was there. And that meant every table had like 5, 6 kids under 7 years old. And just right before I'm going on, I'm thinking of everything I was going to do. And I'm like, well, I can't do any of that. I can't do that. So, I got off to a good start because I spent the first 8 minutes just ripping their town and everything that I observed. Yeah. And then when I went to get into material, I was trying to edit and it was just going nowhere. Then you start getting that feeling that you never forget. And then I've just never done it again since. I don't know why.
And you don't need it.
But actually, I did it one time in the Bahamas.
Really?
In my 20s. I won the talent contest.
Oh, wow. Tell me about that.
Well, I did everything on the Sandals Resort.
Who were you up against in the talent contest?
It was a really good singer from Canada. This woman could sing like Celine Dion.
I thought for sure. Was her name Celine?
No, but I thought for sure I was going to lose, and I didn't. But I did because the pool was really ridiculously cold. So I did this whole Titanic bit of everybody in the pool, but we paid so much. So you stay on that raft, honey. Everybody was just going crazy. And then I was picking apart the restaurants and the service. And so, I'm more of an ad-libber. And then when I got in a room like that, I was like, wow, I was self-conscious.
As Carollynn will probably attest to this, that ad-libbing comedy, when it's on and going.
Oh, it's great. And when it's bad, it's bad.
But when it's bad, it's bad.
It's so bad.
There is no middle ground.
Yeah,
you're either rocking it or they're just kind of going.
I even saw it even with brilliant people like Robin Williams. I've saw nights where Robin wasn't really on, and it was out there.
You're just talking about it, and it's making me anxious.
Yes,
because all of the memories are coming back. I did this show one time, and they were like, "Whatever you do, don't talk to the ladies left of stage." because I guess her husband just died, and her girls wanted to take her for a fun night out a week later.
Oh, wow.
Like a week later.
That might have been ambitious.
And so there's a table of girls over here, and then there's some ladies right in front of me. And I go to talk to the ladies right in front of me. I'm like, just screwing around. And she's like, well, actually, I'm here because my husband just died. And I was like, no, you're supposed to be over there.
There can't be two of you in the same room.
That was in.
Must be some bad water in that.
Well,
town.
we all look
Flint.
Hey, Carollynn, we all look for niches in this business.
That's right.
Yours happens to be the grieving widow.
Wake, stand up at the wake.
Yeah.
And then after the show, because it totally threw me. I didn't have the years of experience to navigate myself out of that one. It totally threw me off. And then after the show, it was in Jackson, Tennessee, I think. And then some people were like, well, we drove from Texas to come see you. And I was like,
I'm sorry
you
for
want your
both of our
money back?
losses.
Wow. Yeah. Both of our losses.
Seriously.
Oh, but no, there is. It's like that, and I have this problem, and I have this when I go to speak places as well. I mean, there can be 500 people, and they're all into what I'm doing, but I can see one, arms folded,
Right.
yawning.
Oh, yeah, you never forget them.
And I'm obsessed with them. And
Yeah.
I spend the rest of the night trying to win them. And so, the minute that starts happening,
It's weird how the room is dark and the lighting is the same, but that person seems more illuminated than everyone else. It's like the Lord's light is just like, well, I don't know about that joke.
right.
Well, I was just at the Improv in Kansas City. Oh, no, it was Houston on the day that the Chiefs was playing what are the Texans now?
Yeah.
The Houston Texans. And I'm watching some guy. He's not laughing at all. I realize, I go, are you watching the game? And he holds up his phone.
He was.
I go, your wife brought you out here to spend time with you. I said, put that. And then 7 other guys hold up their phones. I go, great. Thank
It's
you.
so the opposite of what I do. I'm talking into a microphone. I don't see anybody. I don't get any reaction. I mean, I get 5-10 minutes later, you get emails or phone calls that are reacting. Most of the reaction is like years later, somebody walks up to you, hey, I was listening. You changed my life that day when you said this.
Right.
Whereas comedy, you're right there. And the pay is, if you're a chimp, throw me some nuts, is throw me a laugh. And if you don't get it, then you're just like thrown off by that. So I think it's kind of an eternal opposite of what I do. But it was fun. I mean, that night was for charity. And but you actually said, yeah, that was a great set. And I said, do you think I could go pro? And you went, absolutely not. I think
I did not say that. No, you were talking about
He said, stay on the air.
yeah, absolutely not. Don't quit your day job.
the talent contest years and years ago. I think it was before I was married. I was in Fort Lauderdale and I was broke, and someone said there's a talent contest. They pay $75 or something. Give me gas money to get out of here if I can win. And there was a young girl there, Jewish girl, with her Jewish mother from Palm Beach. And she sang Olivia Newton-John's Let's Get Physical.
Oh.
She was dressed in the sweatsuit. She had the headband. And the curtain was rising, and she didn't wait for it to rise. She just started singing. Let's get physical. I'm telling you, if she had gone on as a comedian, I wouldn't have stood a
You wouldn't
chance.
have, but because she was
But she was a singer anyway. I win the $75, and I just said to her and her mother, I go, she's extremely talented, but in the comedy field.
That's like an SNL skit.
I know it was.
That's
It was.
so
and
perfect.
It was the
I love the
backstage
rising.
mother. They call them stage mothers. That's what she was.
Yeah.
Oh, she's the most talented thing.
It's just weird when you go to the Sandals, you just get obsessed with earning these points after a while. I mean, either engage or you don't engage. And that was like the second to last night, and it was worth, I don't remember how many points.
Oh.
And so I did, but I would honestly tell you, this girl was beautiful, sang literally as good as Celine
Oh, you
Dion.
made points off your Sandals talent show?
Yeah, well, and I
thing?
got a shirt and something else. But yeah, that's what got me my sandals, because I was short.
Well, it's a heck of a lot more than we're going to give you today.
I know. I got an exploding golf ball.
Which is the
Back to the introduction. I think we're
I
about
don't
to.
think I mentioned your last name, Michael DelGiorno.
Yes.
The pizza. By the way, that was the coolest thing. You fooled me. You had a Trump impersonator on every Friday. They
We still
called you
do.
the Pizza
Yeah.
Man.
Pizza boy.
Pizza Boy. And he is so good.
So
he
right-
fooled me. I said to Tammy, how did DelGiorno get Trump?
It's a problem because he sounds so much like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
He thinks like Donald Trump. He improvs and acts like Donald
the
Trump.
rhythm, the cadence, everything. Yeah.
So everybody's convinced it's Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter how many times afterwards, like, oh, that's the brilliant Sean Farash. And if you want him to do messages, but they don't hear it. They just think it's Trump. And then, Trump says so many outrageous things that, but when we launched the show, we were just going to be on in Nashville. Then before we launched, it's going to be Nashville, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. Then it was, it's going to be Memphis, Nashville, Tulsa, Oklahoma City. So then we started on iHeart, and Sean would come on every Friday because it was during the campaign. And
does he do shows as a Trump impersonator?
he does. He's been with Trump. He doesn't look anything like
Is
Trump.
it possible that I saw him at the Redneck Riviera on Broadway do a show with Michael
Loftus?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No.
Well, I don't know. He's from New York. So
I think so. I think, and the voice was
I can
uncanny.
a picture later, but he doesn't look anything like Donald, but he sounds just like him. And of course, then the show just keeps growing in cities. Then we added Tampa. Then, then we got onto the West Coast. We did LA, San Francisco. So the show's exploding. And then we joined Premiere. So now we're syndicated with Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity. So now I got all these new cities every week thinking the same thing. This is really Donald Trump. And then he calls me. So for
San Francisco, they're all triggered and
they're
getting bills from mental health professionals.
Finally, I have a national show, and now everybody's calling me Pizza Boy because this guy on Friday called me Pizza Boy, and they think that's my nickname.
What outlandish thing did he say that got you in the most trouble?
The Trump impersonator?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's a great question. He keeps it. He is a very, very. He did the one that's coming to mind is he always brings up how Joe Biden pooped his pants with the Pope. And, I would
say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Like
then he would do it in Spanish, and that was really funny, Was he the poo and do the whole thing? So, one day I was just Googling, and it's true. So it's a whole news story, but the Vatican would not confirm or deny, which was like confirming. So most of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is pretty factual. It just seems shocking because he says it, but compared to Donald Trump. But no, he doesn't get me in any trouble. He really doesn't.
That's good.
It's funny you say. I had a friend of mine that was working at a rehab center in Tennessee. Won't mention the name, but I heard Anthony Weiner was at that rehab center. Remember when Weiner went through all that stuff? So anyway, he sends me a picture of Weiner on a horse. He goes, I cannot confirm or deny that he is in a facility.
But he's doing equine therapy.
Equine therapy to stop sending pictures of his junk.
Well, and it obviously worked. He's thinking about it.
Now he's just sending pictures of horse junk.
Well, I like this.
We're still on the bio.
Yes, we are.
Well, you just introduced me. We're 40 minutes in.
I know. Well, hey,
Pacing ourselves?
No. You do your interviews your way. Matter of fact, I do see that you have a podcast. You have the 1850 Main.
Actually, I started that with David Zanotti, and then when we went to Premiere, we got
lost in the contract.
Yeah, it got spun off. So, but David still does it. It's a great podcast. I encourage people to listen to it. 1850mainstreet.com. But yeah, that needs to be.
Where's the 1850? Is that where the address of where you? Because I don't want to.
No, when we originally started,
if you put the address in your title, I mean, you're doxing yourself.
You don't even put your address on the street.
No.
No. When we started it, we were thinking we were on a golf course one time, and David looked at me and he goes, "It's 1850, and we're headed towards a civil war. You got 10 years to stop it. What do you do?" And neither of us could really, we went through all the issues, which are statements of problems to overcome. None of us really had a better answer than the way it played out. And then I said, you know what, David, it's not much different right now. Because at that point, I'm looking at everything that's going on. I go, we might be 10 years away from a civil war if this gets any more crazy and violent. What are we going to do to stop it? And then the podcast and the name 1850. I think towards the beginning we explained it, and then afterwards we just like people not knowing, and it's figuring it out.
They can look it up.
But America was at a really, really outrageous crossroad, and I think we've miraculously come out the other end. So if there's a doomsday clock, it's been pushed back. So maybe I'll start the next podcast 1840, and we'll take it from there.
Right. Well, it's interesting to me.
It's my new big idea. I like that you like my ideas.
As someone,
he doesn't.
As someone who, I'm always fascinated when I talk to pastors because every week they got to write a new 45-minute message. Me, my goal is a minute a week. If I can write a minute of comedy a week in a year, I got a 52-minute. I mean, that's the goal. That was Carolynn's method, and I thought, that'll work for me.
Sure.
The problem is I go 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 weeks without writing anything. So now I got to write 15 minutes in a week.
So you pretty much try to have all new material every year?
No, you know what? I just keep adding to things, and I know by the clock how much stuff I've added because I used to be at this particular point at 55 minutes, and now I'm not anywhere near that, which means I've added 10 minutes or 12 minutes of stuff. But 3 hours a day, we kind of talked about this a little bit off the air, but your show prep, you hear that radio guys say show prep. Are you alone? Do you have a team?
I was always alone. I mean, obviously with Premiere now, I have a producer who's does all the, if I need sound effects, if I need audio clips, all the rejoin music, all that stuff. He works to send the promos. I cut them, and then he disperses.
We have Lee Harden.
You have Lee. Well, that's a good one.
Lee,
Who, by the way, is an extraordinary comedian. And why isn't he on this show?
Because he's doing the.
Because he's not a girl, and they needed a young girl because that's what attracts double audiences. That's
right. I wanted a millennial point of view.
Here I am wearing a hoodie. I should have showed some skin.
Yeah.
I wanted a millennial point of view because I have 2 millennial sons, and they're confusing to me.
To answer your question, if you had to prep, using the pastor's analogy, if every time I had to do a sermon, I had to sit and think of a 45-minute sermon, that'd be one thing. I'm of the firm opinion that you can only make God known as you know him, and if you know him and you're yielded to him, and his Holy Spirit is living through you, the sermons they kind of happen, and then you fill in the facts or the analogies but if you made the goal, I want to have a great sermon. Yeah, that would be hard. We don't do that. I mean, we're obviously aware of things. There are some shortcuts. We use this expression, behind every headline is a story. Behind every story, there's so much to talk about. The truth is, behind every headline is an issue that we have failed to solve because we love to debate things or divide each other over things, but we're not good at uniting and solving things. So these issues don't change, just the thing happens. So even the plane crash, for example, I mean, you could make a case that the NTSB exists because accidents don't happen. Something went wrong, and they will make the determination, and it's going to be the plane, mechanical, it's going to be the pilots, or it's going to be the people in the tower, or it's going to be atmospheric. And then they pinpoint the 1 or 2 things that we can really learn from, maybe a system that needs to be invented or developed, and then they make a recommendation. And the truth is, nobody ever does anything with the recommendations. So it's funny, I'm watching America following this crash, and believe me, there's enough human loss there, and I'm a very empathetic person. So I'm thinking that the morning after the crash, I had pictures of all the kids before we could ever say their name or release any of it. So I go in there at 5 o'clock in the morning, and my heart's broken. I mean, I'm looking at these. The one girl is more gorgeous than the boy, who's cuter than any boy you've ever seen, and they're talented. But the truth of the matter is what's going to unfold for America is kind of like OJ was that case. People started following the law. How the NTSB will come to conclusions, make recommendations, and no one will do them.
Right.
That's going to be the frustrating thing. Well, it's the same thing with issues. So it's not, I mean, it's a lot of reading. I think if I sat down and prepped, it would be 3 hours at least. So roughly an hour of prep for every hour you're on the air.
Is there sometimes like the plane crash where you prepped and then it's all scrapped? And it's like, oh, well, this just happened.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Does something else come up?
Also, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm really struggling to focus. Do you get your eyebrows done? They are phenomenal. They're the nicest eyebrows. I cannot focus on anything because they're the best. That's
only good quality?
They're the best eyebrows. Those eyebrows need to be on video,
Carollynn,
not on radio.
The ADD thing.
I'm ADD.
I'm like, I can't focus because I was like, I wonder if he tweezes them. Maybe get some.
Well, I mean, I would get. I tweeze a little bit right here, so I don't get a.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
But yeah, nothing else.
They really are amazing.
They're like 5 colors too, aren't they?
Now that you mentioned
yeah, they're beautiful. Yeah. They're highlighted. They're ombre. I don't
really. Well, it's just that was God's doing.
Yeah.
Tammy used to dye mine, but then I look like Groucho Marx.
Yeah, I'm not playing that game.
A couple of caterpillars.
All right, so I like how we're getting ADD. So I wasn't gray for the longest time, and then 2 things. One, I went through a long battle with my mom with cancer and had to care for her. That was a lot of stress. And then I had an issue with my daughter when she was a teenager. That one I went
Oh my
white.
gosh, that's happening to me. I didn't get any sleep. That's why I have no personality.
No, I think you're doing
Teenagers are
great.
going to kill you. Look, I woke up yesterday, black hair. Teenager, yesterday, gray.
Kids.
Done.
And I went gray in a straight line. So, it was like almost from a distance, you'd look at me and it looks like I had a Kim Jong-un haircut.
Oh, wow.
That is so stylish.
Well, so
It's so
I
in
I
died.
hope he killed the barber.
I dyed it a couple of times. Well, actually, my wife did.
That is one guy.
My wife did my hair during COVID and made me Kim Jong-un. But so I dyed it, and then I just thought, I ain't messing with that. It looks so.
I hope he killed him with his own clippers.
That's an option. Are you going to spit it? I don't think it's staying down.
Okay.
We had to deal with the dog passing gas. Now we're going to deal with water boarding.
Spit all over my co-host.
Yeah, if you spit on me too hard, I'll lose my eyebrows.
Yeah.
But no, I've never touched my eyebrow, but thank you for
Oh,
noticing.
they look phenomenal.
Now I
I'm
can't
so
stop
sorry.
staring at yours.
Oh, go on. Did I draw them on crooked today? Because sometimes I get a little shaky hands because I get nervous. I was late.
Yeah,
you can always tell when I'm
perfect
late.
arches.
That
'cause they get
explains
real
some
straight.
of those podcasts we've done where you just look surprised the whole show. I just
so
thought you were
excited for
fascinated
our
with the guest, and I've just realized you drew him up here. You know?
If you have a boring guest on sometime, which you are not, I'll put just be like, yay.
Yeah, just draw some excitement, Or furrowed, he was talking about some deep stuff. You could have drew on a furrowed brow.
You can't make those
I just
adjustments,
do
can you?
this.
You just always have the same look.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah, that's the Botox. That's what that is.
At 35?
Oh,
my
yeah, I
God.
started at 26.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was really moved by what you were saying about the plane crash. You just couldn't see it.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, so everything is an issue. And then it's, really, I think successful talk show hosts, they arrive at the mic with it or without it. And you have a unique way of looking at life. I think what
Well,
we
that's
do
it. I think the same stories. It's almost
Yeah.
like comedy. There's only so many topics you can talk about.
Yeah.
So it's your unique point of view.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking about when you were talking about the pastors. They can't really go off premise.
Well, some do.
You
but
mean
most
change the
not.
gospel? Oh, it happened.
No, yeah, it happens all the time. Jesus was a socialist. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Communist.
I always wonder if they're just like, here we go with the lady at the well again. This time of year.
Yeah. Heck. So anyway, I had a saying when when you do radio interviews and are difficult, which is why I like the long form.
Yeah.
Because you get a chance to know people, but you're doing 3 to 5 minutes. So sometimes I do these newscast shows, and I don't really do politics in my show. But so I said at one point, I used to think we were going through the age of hyperbole, which was all the clickbait. The headline was everything. Yeah. So the more sensational you make it. And then I think I call it the age of Pilate now. It's because when Jesus walked out and said, "Those that hear me, know on the side of truth," and Pilate says, "What is truth?" And I think that's where we're at today. Is just
there's
truth,
but there is an awakening. I think America's figured out what's broke. I don't think they figured out what's right yet.
Right.
They know what's wrong, but they haven't figured out what's right.
It's almost like you got this thing in the back of your head. Something's not right.
Yeah.
And
there's been a narrative shift. That's
but there's this. I always look at the law of non-contradiction. Two things that say the opposite thing about the same thing both can't be true. So when you look at the media and you listen to, and I do listen to as much of variety as I can, and you hear the contradictions, is it frustrating for you? Do you even pay attention? Because a lot of talk radio people play clips from other shows to show the contradiction. Does it bother you when it's so factually wrong? I mean, you have such a good nature about you, that, I used to love Levin because Levin would just go off on these tirades and you think, my God, he's lost it. And then he'd go, hey, gold line.
You know what? It can be, if I'm in the truth business, not in the results business. That's something you got to remind yourself of.
Yeah. How much does that cost you? Because you are very openly biblical worldview. You were when I first started listening to your knowledge of Israel and how it fit in biblical and end times and stuff.
Yeah.
So did that cost you anything from the people that were hiring you?
I would just take issue with the way the question's framed. I could give you specific answers. I could give you vague answers. The truth of the matter is, it didn't cost me anything. It's all been paid for. Everything I have, God has given me. You know that from the last year and a half.
Right.
So I think if I were to be doing it gratuitously for, to try to have gain in the flesh, I think, it would cost me everything. But if you're going as God leads and you're yielding to his spirit moment by moment, you just don't make those mistakes. But in the long run, you could say it cost me potentially even my last job. Who cares?
Well, I think that was over sports.
I think, right. I think God had something bigger and better. So I don't think it did. And I don't ever focus on that. So, and I don't really focus on everyone else. I mean, your morning show was really designed to be about the audience. I think we got enough people on the air with big egos pontificating. Listen to me. I'm smart. You're not. I'll tell you what to think. And I think that's insulting because I think America just proved it can think on its own. It could figure things out on its own. So I'm more about taking all this information they're getting bombarded with and asking some questions. I really love it when they have their own. I feel like I'm looking at him and not you. And you're
That's okay.
No, because you're missing out on my eyebrows, and I can tell.
Obviously, your eyebrows are distracting to her, so I'm just grateful you're not looking at her because we need her here.
I heard the words.
We need her.
At 60, nobody finds me attractive, let alone have ever.
Well, she didn't find you attractive.
Just my eyebrows. You just want the eyebrows, right? All right.
That's it. She's got a thing for Indian dudes. She's real into eyebrows.
She's into the eyebrows.
No, you can. You look at me. I'll look this way. They'll never know.
Okay.
Now I don't know where to look.
I don't either.
No, but so I don't really focus on what other people are doing. I think when people have their own discovery, it's just like, you can go to a sermon and a pastor can teach you something or say something and you can remember what he said and it was really cool. But the most profound, getting back to your point, this is what never happens with the Bible because it's a living word. And so every time you read it, when I was going through my rough time about a year and a half ago, it was little things like God so loved the world. He gave his only son. I mean, it was you'll read something and then that's the difference between revelation and not. So I would rather lead someone to their own self-discovery than to tell them how to think like me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't really view that. By the way,
you said your morning show. I didn't mention that's what you call your show. It's your morning show because you tell the
I have always hated it being about me. So, and then there were times for like 30 of the 35 years in talk radio, I was the only person on the show, but I still hated, I would never refer to myself third person or this is Michael DelGiorno show. I just hated that.
So
this is Michael and my team guy, the Belch, like that.
Did you ever do the morning thing with like, this is I'm Michael and this is Chuckles?
I did mornings with my father. Well, we joke about, we wanted to do, what's the name we gave ourselves? Burpee and something. I don't remember.
It's always something like that.
Yeah, no, I did a morning show with my dad. That was fun. My dad was very successful in talk radio and radio in general in Chicago, and then he was on in the mornings in New Orleans, and then we did a morning show together.
He was on in Chicago. What years?
He was on WIND from 1970 to 1977, and he was on Q101 in the early 80s.
I probably listened to him, man.
So that's how you got into it then, your dad, family based?
Well, my dad was in radio. I was never going to be in radio. I was going to be a pastor, believe it or not. And my Bible college didn't open because of a scandal.
Always with the scandals.
There was a scandal in the church.
There's always so many scandals.
Involving Marvin Gorman and Jimmy Swaggart. So next thing you know, I was doing radio, and that was it. I do remember...
Now you're just shepherding a larger flock.
Yes, it's pretty much true.
And you don't have any student loan debt, so...
No, but I haven't figured out how to do an offering. I got to figure that out.
Patreon. That's the till.
We could do that. But no, so I wasn't going to be. And then I
ended up... code on your forehead, man, and the people can...
But the radio been very, very good to me, so I'm not complaining.
Yes, you are. Yeah, a year and a half ago, we were on the golf course, and you were kind of in between gigs, and I almost called you to do a podcast with you. I had talked to my manager about it and everything. And
he nixed it? Lenny nixed it?
No, not at all. It was literally 2 days later. You called me and told me you got...
We were going to do one called Eyebrow.
Yeah.
Eyebrows. Male eyebrows.
Yeah. Eyebrows and Botox.
Well, speaking of that, we need to get to the niche. We always try to attract a new pile of people who are not being fed on the internet. You are a lizard guy. You were talking about your lizards before off air. So tell us how you got into lizards. Was that after the bulldogs?
Yeah.
I love bulldogs. I follow Odie the Bulldog on Instagram.
I had the greatest.
One of his biggest fans.
I had the greatest Joey. And I'll never forget, I was on the air and my mom happened to be visiting in Tulsa. And I said, Mom, make sure you let in the guy from, we had a place called Mathis Brothers. Mathis Brothers, I don't know what we have here that's like that. It was above Haverty's. It was very high end. And I said, Mom, the delivery guy's going to come sometime between 2 and 5. I'll be on the air. I did afternoons then. So you got to make sure you're here so you can let him in. She goes, no problem. So the guy eventually shows up and she takes him to this room. This is where the furniture goes. And it was the most gorgeous race car bed. I mean, it looked like a real race car. And then it had a mattress.
Is that for you? Or
then there was lockers. So this guy's putting all this stuff together. He's putting this stuff all together. He looks at my mom and he goes, boy, you must have a lucky grandson. She goes, well, he's looking right at you. And he goes, this is all for a dog.
Oh, it was for the dog. Thank God. I thought it was for you.
No, I thought it was for you too.
It was for the dog. No, I loved Joey was my favorite. And then I had another one after him. And then, so I was at a Syracuse LSU football game and my daughters are like me.
How old are they?
My daughters, I have twin daughters that are 20 and I have a son who is 18. At this time, the daughters were probably 15 and my son was probably 13. But anyway, they love animals. Don't really care for people, but they love animals. So they're always buying animals. So I'm at this football game and I get this boop text and it's a picture of this female chameleon. And I just looked at her face and started laughing. Now, I've never had a lizard in my life, or let alone a chameleon. And I just remember I texted, as soon as I get off the plane, we're going and getting her. And we're going to call her Eleanor. She looks just like Eleanor Roosevelt. So I go and I get...
I wish we have to put a picture of Eleanor Roosevelt.
Oh, and I can give you a snapshot of my Eleanor. So Eleanor was about the size of my pinky finger when I brought her home. She used to live on my ear, then she lived on my head. And I mean, just let my guard down. I didn't know better. I mean, I got close. I loved this. I used to take her for drives, let her drive the car, because they have unique hands.
These little...
Yeah, and so she would grab the wheel, and it looked like she knew what she was doing. And like she would watch TV, and she'd react to the TV. And
he drove her through a school zone.
That's what you need.
Officer, it wasn't me. Get her.
That's what you need for the Tesla, because you're supposed to have your hands on the wheel.
Yeah,
so you just put a little lizard on there.
So Eleanor hooked me, and then females are really difficult too. By the way, I wouldn't. First of all, you shouldn't start with a chameleon. They're a very high end, delicate. They're hard to keep alive, and so that caused me to immerse myself and know everything you have to know, because you're basically taking them out of their environment, and then you got to recreate it inside. So calcium and everything they would get from the sun, you got to give through light and through food, and then you become like Silence of the Lambs, because these crickets I buy, everything those crickets eat go in Eleanor. So then you're like a mad scientist making sure the crickets are eating all this great stuff so that she gets all those vitamins and nutrients. But she had a lot of, and then they have eggs and they can die when they're doing that and burying them and all that. So it's just so much involved. And I think that makes you love even deeper. And I lost her at 1.5. The males live longer. I had Duke. He lived to be 5. They're just amazing. I had an Australian frill that was hilarious. His name was Johnny. I got great friendships over this. In fact, best show nobody ever saw. Me and my 2 friends did a video podcast called The Jungle Room. And you can still Google it and find it. Probably on YouTube still, but it was very, very well done. We had an Emmy award-winning producer that did all the shoots and editing.
Wow.
But, exotic pets, I never thought I would have owned one, let alone could love one. But
you're hitting one of my secret obsessions. So I'm not obsessed with exotic pets, but I'm obsessed with the exotic pet community. Like, I feel like since Tiger King, and then I've watched all the ones about reptile shows and reptile people. You're the most normal exotic pet person I have ever met.
I did not. We even went to an exotic pet show. That's where I got Johnny.
They're wild.
But yeah, and there's, they don't look like me.
It's insanity. I mean, they're like smuggling in. They're like, one bite, this will kill your whole family.
Yeah.
But I got it in my wife's breast pocket with her Marlboros.
That's it.
Just don't go for a smoke. It's ridiculous. Like, it's insanity.
Yeah, or what's that tattoo? And then it starts moving. Oh my gosh, that's a snake. Yeah, they're always on them.
And like the smuggling in and out, and like they work harder to get those things in and out than the cartel, I feel like.
But the chameleons they're great pets, but the females don't live very long. And then after about 3 episodes of crying, I thought I'm going to take a break. So I've taken a break for now 2 years. But I still, to this day, cannot go in like a PetSmart.
Right.
Because if I see one and they give me that eye, you know how you are with my eyebrows.
Yeah.
You ought to see a chameleon's eyes.
Yeah.
Because I would sit and watch a game, and then I would take a picture of Eleanor, and I could see that she'd have one eye on the game and one eye on me taking her picture. And, I don't know, they brought such joy to my life, and they were so fun and funny, and they're very peaceful. I highly recommend don't start with a chameleon. Start with a bearded dragon or something simple.
Well, anyway, we just catered to the lizard people, so that's
Yeah,
great.
look at us.
That's a whole other scandal. That may
That's a
Google out
hashtag.
something different.
Hashtag Eleanor Lizard. Now you were a bulldog. I wanted a bulldog, but the problem, and we talked about this, is their life expectancy.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard. But I just wanted a dog that every time I looked at it made me laugh.
Yeah, that was
Every
Joey.
time I look at a bulldog, I laugh. I mean, I really do.
So the most expensive surgery Joey had was he had to have an ACL surgery.
I've never heard on a dog.
On a dog. So
I feel like these are problems women have when they date sugar daddies.
it cost me $3,800. It's not funny. So I had this Hendra chair and ottoman. I don't know what that chair cost. I mean, it was something ridiculous at the time. But he used to lay on it.
Was that Mathis Brothers?
And he was sucking his pillow. That was Mathis
that's
Brothers.
right. You told us tell him about the pillow.
So my bulldog liked to suck a pillow. And it just started when he was young. And so he would just sit there and watch TV and suck on his pillow. And then I was telling him it'd be very traumatic. Every 3 years, we'd have to get a new one. And I have to take that one away because it was really disgusting. And so I would take him to the furniture store or to the home. Like, what do we have now here? I'm trying to think. In Tennessee, we have
Michael. Well, no, not Michael's.
what's that new
Home
one now? Like Home,
yeah,
the home
Goods.
store or
Home
whatever
Goods,
it is.
yeah.
And they have the aisles and aisles of pillows. And so I would go in there like Hobby Lobby or something, and we'd pick out pillows. And I'd have to put in his mouth.
So there's people buying the pillows that
somebody probably bought a Joey pillow.
sucked all over.
But so he had
Do
a
you
pillow.
like this one? Do you like this one?
But he was sucking his pillow, and he rolled and fell off the ottoman with his leg caught and tore his ACL, and I had to have a
I don't mean to laugh,
surgery.
but it's just the caring. The caring
Yes.
is so.
That's before you have kids.
I have a corgi, and apparently they have like a bunch of leg problems. I didn't know. And so a year ago, I would have been like, why would you waste your money? Just put it down. Take it in the backyard. I'll show Joey the pillow. But now that I'm like so in love with this stupid thing, I hate it. It's so dangerous, the vulnerability. I'm like, I can't love this thing this much. It's not good. And then I'm like on my way over here, I was like, okay, she's in the crate. There's nothing she could get. And I'm like, with my son, I was like, hey, he's good. He's fine. And then with this dog, I'm like, it's not good.
Yeah, Joey was, there was, when I was living in D.C. at the time, and I kept waking up, and he would chew my glasses. I mean, like, this was like 1990, and they were like $260 each. And he would chew them, and I'm like, man.
Tell me about the 90s, Papa.
Well,
Go on.
I'll tell you, begging tonight.
You had to wear your spectacles.
So I'm thinking, I'm falling asleep on the couch.
Wait a minute. I'm having a fond moment of nostalgia. I like the 90s.
I hated the 90s.
Did you?
One night I woke up
broken, bankrupt.
I kept blaming myself.
Come to think of it, thanks for bringing that up.
No, actually, the poorest I was in Oklahoma City. I worked. It was supposed to be a real high personality station. And by the time we got there, I remember we went to go have a cigarette break, and we found the room where all the cart machines were, which is the songs. And I thought we were supposed to be classic rock and lots of personality. This is Whitney Houston and the Carpenters. Then we get into the meeting, and they tell us the consultants have changed their mind. We're going to do a soft AC called My 107.7.
Oh my gosh, give us a little bit of it.
KIMY. So I was all these high-profile personalities, me from New Orleans, another guy from Dallas, and so I had to get up. But I had a $200 apartment that I filled with Aaron Rent's furniture. I mean, I think my whole nut, including Dairy Queen, was like $300 a month. I was never happier. It's the greatest.
Yeah. You remember Chicago back in the 70s. FM was just really kind of
about the 70s.
Really
Tell
trying
us
to,
about the 70s.
FM. They had these women with these sultry voices.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. And then I got to see one.
Oh, yeah. Nobody ever.
Sweatpants, hair on. It ruined the whole fantasy. I said, what I created in my mind was so perfect and so beautiful.
That's always.
Webcams put so many women out of business.
Yeah. Well,
For sure.
Well, at least they have to get dressed and, you bathed, right?
I mean, kind of.
Kind of. Okay.
A little bit.
And I was blaming Blake.
You
for
don't
that.
know.
Where's
Judging
Blake?
the smell.
She pulled into Bucky's restroom for 10 minutes, but she's here now. That's all that matters.
I walked through the neighbor's pond.
That was when my kid went to camp. Your kid ever go to camp?
No, I didn't have any
Boy
camp
Scout
kids.
camp. Tammy sent him with 7 folded pairs of underwear. Came back a week later with 6 folded pair of underwear, all clean.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, did you even bathe? He goes, we swam every day.
Yeah.
They said, to frighten every parent. There's not enough chlorine in the world to kill
Oh, gosh.
the
Busted.
300 youths that haven't bathed. But,
Oh, I never finished the story. So I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and he was straddling me carefully, kind of like the Matrix.
Joey.
Yeah, and he was with his huge underbite. He was taking my glasses off at the
really?
right at the bridge, and that's when I realized he'd been taking them off because I was blaming myself
For leaving him
out.
around, and he was
that was
stealing them off
that was
your
the
face.
condo. He ate an entire wall, but then he mellowed out after like 1.5. He was a good boy.
Yeah, when you got to pass like drywall you realize it's difficult.
No, he took a wall out. That was a busy day of chewing.
I have a adverse love of bulldogs. I got bit by one really bad.
Ooh.
Like
English or pit?
It could have been a mix, but it was real low to the ground. Looked like an English bulldog, but it could have been.
That's rare
a
that they
mix.
would bite. They're the
Yeah, I love them, and I was so surprised. But it was going after my dog and like exposed this whole wrist bone.
Oh,
It was super gnarly.
yeah, that would.
It was going after the little corgi right when I got her, and I picked her up, and it was trying to get to
Yeah,
her.
that can
and-
be scary. Joe used to sleep next to me, and he sounded like a little old man because he'd be real quiet, and you'd hear, and then you go, and I'm like, I'm sleeping with an old man.
Yeah.
I had a pug once, and it was
Oh, they're
pretty.
very gassy.
It was very gnarly.
And they got to be right in your face staring at you.
I heard the saddest pug story one time. And you know when somebody tells you something tragic, but it's so funny that you feel shame for laughing? But my friend was like, well, we lost Nino. I was like, what happened? And it was a pug, and it was real flat-faced, and it was kind of dumb, and it put its face in a puddle and couldn't figure out how to get out.
Oh, wow.
So they found it drowned.
Oh, my gosh. That is the dumbest dog.
That sounds like suicide to me. What kind of house did it?
Yeah.
They said it.
I can't take this.
You find
anymore.
Jeff with his face in a puddle. He had a bad round of golf.
Its name was Nino, and I was like, well, we'll call it El Nino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Holy cow.
That would be tragic.
Yeah. Well, we have.
Your dog kills it. That'd be the
What did I do
worst.
wrong? I never saw the signs.
My husband, his ex-in-laws, they had this chow, and he had some issues with his ex-in-laws anyways. Kind of couldn't stand them, kind of couldn't stand their kids, kind of couldn't stand their dog. And one day they were in a condo on vacation, and 2 stories up, the dog just bolted out and jumped over. He was
Wow.
like, if they were my owners, I'd jump too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. Brutal. It survived. It hit a car on the way
Oh,
down.
he lived. Oh,
Yeah. You got any other good dead
Yeah.
dog
When
stories?
you're not. We're still on the intro.
Lizards,
We're still
Wait,
bulldogs.
but
on the
I have
intro.
a question.
Yes.
Am I allowed to ask a question?
Yes, you can
Is
ask.
that okay? I'm a big girl.
You know what that makes me sound like?
Is it going to be about what?
No, you're not allowed to
Is
ask.
it going to be about what the
How many
90s
times
were
do
like?
I have to tell you? No.
A lot of double-breasted suits, dear.
When I
That was
interviewed
the
you for
90s.
this, you said you don't think at all. So,
Yeah, thinking is.
I want a
Exhausting.
liberal that doesn't talk.
let me ask you.
Yeah.
You remember the question?
Yes.
Okay, you're way ahead of me and Michael at this point.
Okay.
If I get interrupted, whatever I was thinking about is gone.
See, it's not that as much as where we go is more fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Trump called it the weave. I love that. I use that now in my show because I ramble off, and then I'll start talking about my birthday and my birthday card, and then I'll go off on all these different topics and come back. So I was opening my birthday card.
Did you see a picture?
And I said I got a name for it now. It's the weave. So we're gonna weave.
We're weaving.
What was the question?
Okay, so you wanted to be a pastor. Your dad grew up in radio. Kind of what is your I hate throwing around that like testimony. What is your life with Christ? Like, when did you know?
Oh,
What
so
happened? Did you grow up in the church? All the
no.
things.
Well, this can be perceived as negative. I don't mean it to be. I grew up Catholic, so I was around religion, but it wasn't anything to me. So I was 13 years old. My dad had moved to New Orleans, and it was great culture shock, Chicago to New Orleans. I went from a big, beautiful public school in Chicago with a basketball team and painted basketball court. And
What high school?
Holmes Junior High, and then Rolling Meadows.
Oh, okay.
So I lived in the same neighborhood as Sebastian Maniscalco.
Oh,
He lived right down the street.
Oh my gosh, one of the greats.
Yeah.
His special from 2012 still holds up today.
Oh,
word
yeah.
for word for word.
They're all great. I mean, the last one was a little, but all of his specials were great. So anyway, we moved to New Orleans, and now I'm in this little private school. I can't understand anything anybody's saying without a translator.
You don't speak Cajun?
No. And so, it's time to order lunch, and, there's no cafeteria. This menu comes around, and I ask the guy next to me, I go, what is this? And he goes, that's JJ's fried chicken. I said, what am I supposed to get? I get 2-piece all white with dirty rice. I said, the rice is dirty? Dirty rice. What is dirty rice? It's meat and rice. What kind of meat? Liver. Oh, do they have fries? Yeah. So it was so bizarre. And in New Orleans, it can get cold. And you may not think so, but it can get way colder than here. And Chicago was the coldest I've ever been in my life. But it's a damp cold in New Orleans. So it was a really cold day. And there is no cafeteria. So we didn't want to eat in the classroom. We couldn't eat outside. It was too cold. So we went to the gym. We're on the basketball team. They got to let us in to eat, right? And our coach is at the door. And he goes, you can't come in. They're having Bible study. And I said, well, what if we go to Bible study? Oh, well, then you can eat. I said, all right. I'm thinking, call me Brother Mike. I got my JJ. And then I looked across. I saw the Bricata girls were in there. They were the cutest girls in school.
The Bricadas.
And I just sat down. I wish I had some great big testimony other than I heard the word. I was immediately drawn to it. And then
I had somewhere to sit. I had JJ's chicken.
That was how it started. And then I can't remember, they were teaching in Matthew. And I just never heard the word read and taught that way. And then I started going to Bible study. Then I started going to
because you always
church.
heard it liturgical.
Yes, and it was just so refreshing, and then put into perspective for us and what we were going through at that age. So my high school coach, Frank Loria, was the one that shared the gospel with me, and I accepted Christ. And I always went to Frank's church. His first one was on Magazine Street, New Orleans. That was pretty wild. And now my best
street church.
Well, kind of. It was that old. Yeah. And then my friend who went to the Bible study with me to eat is now the pastor of their church.
Oh, my gosh. That's
Full
so
circle.
funny. They still serve JJ's.
Yep.
Every Sunday.
Wow. I had heard a pastor talk about his time. He was a football player in college. And one of those organizations that goes from dorm to dorm came in. And they were teaching the gospel to the linemen in the other bed. And he said it bounced off his thick skull and hit me right in the heart.
That's how
he said I had gone to church my whole life.
And then we were the Bible boys, we still, we were around a lot. I mean, everybody smoked weed, did drugs, stole from convenience stores and so on. But I think, the testimony is most of that school came to Christ by the time we graduated. And a lot of them go to that church that my
Frank's
friend
church.
pastors.
Man, that's great. And
That's amazing.
What do you read as far as because you're like my go-to guy if I want to hear about how Israel fits into this world we're living in from a biblical perspective. And so what books have you read or did you study?
What got me on that? I used to be, and this may go back to that Magazine Street church. They did a terrible movie night one time. It was the cheesiest movie on the rapture ever. And then I was about a year later, Hal Lindsey came out with Late Great Planet Earth. Remember when we all went and saw Hal Lindsey's movie and got scared? We were thinking Christ was going to turn any day. And then it kind of, I went through, when I was at LSU, because I was going to do 2 years of my general courses at LSU.
What year was this?
This would have been 82 to 84.
Tell us about the 80s, Papa.
Tell us
There was a lot of
80s.
video games, Centipede, and then I would go to church. I was going to do my general courses for 2 years and then just switch to the Bible college. Well, the Bible college never opened. But the one semester I was there, they were going through Revelation. And I remember doing that, and that kind of got me. And then I just became kind of obsessed with it. And that can be negative, because then all that creates is you're going to, well, one of two things make it negative. One, you can spend your whole life trying to figure out when, and then you're never living. So if everything is about how long do we have, but nobody's living, what difference does it make? You might as well already be dead. The other is when you exegete everything from Scripture, especially Jesus' teaching on the end times, you basically come to this conclusion: we should live today like he's coming at 2. And if we don't live like that, we're not living with urgency and
it's
purpose.
Almost like I've heard people say that if you really believe what you believe, you should be on the corner screaming at people to get them. If you really believed that they are condemned, then we should be a lot more compassionate and constant.
Or the better analogy would be, a lot of Christians just want Jesus to come back. And I do. I would rather be with him right now than...
Right. Really?
No, that came out wrong.
Oh, my gosh.
No, but...
that'll be it.
No.
That'll be the end of Mr. Michael.
No, but the bottom line is that you wouldn't... if you really believed what you believed, you'd want him to tarry, because there's so many lost, and you would want them to have time. So I think that's a natural. When I was younger, I didn't think that way. Now that I'm older, I do. And I think that's the mercy and grace of God, and that's how God lives. And I think that's why he gives us more time.
And I'm a product of the 12-step program. I got in as an atheist, and their saying is attraction rather than promotion. And as the longer I walk within the church community, I think maybe we can learn a lot from that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just live your life in a way.
Speak less and live more.
Right. Live your life in a way where people look at it and go, wow, what's different about him? Because it's interesting, in my experience through life, there was a comic back in Chicago that was always different than the rest of us. And I found out years later, he's always been a believer. He never shared it with us or anything. He just lived differently than us. And it resonated with me because it was such a different life than what we were all trashed all the time and foul-mouthed and all that. And he was just funny and nice.
Well, the church is really good at promoting loving God with all your heart, soul, and mind. Not very good about loving your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
So I think that's what people see more than anything. When you take time for people and you just love them. Right. But that you can't fake that. That'll come from being mature in Christ. It'll make you want to love people more.
In my generation, I think it's hard for love your neighbor as yourself. It's hard for my generation to love themselves truly, deeply, like unfathomable love. It's like we love exterior things that look like today's the self-care day. Right. I'm take care of me. But I mean, really love who you are as a person, to be okay with yourself, to love the person next door. Well, that was so difficult.
I used to do a line in my show was, love God and love your neighbor as you love yourself. If you don't get the first one right, the second one will be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because we do tend to love others as we love ourselves. The problem is most of us don't go inside deep enough to realize how much loathing could be in there.
Yeah.
And one of the things you talked about, Revelation, I got wrapped up in the Peter's statement, have an answer ready. So I got into apologetics, and for 5 years, and I was reading a book, and my pastor walked by, and he said, you like that? And I said, I love it. He goes, careful. I went down that rabbit hole for 20 years.
Yeah, it can become that.
It's just this circular thing that just keeps, and you realize that without the revelation, it's just an explanation, and that means nothing.
Right.
But with the revelation, there's a life transforming. All of a sudden, I was behaving in ways that were counter to years of, and it wasn't anything I did consciously. I didn't wake up one day and write on a piece of paper, I'm going to treat people with more respect. Like you said, if you're taking in that word and trying to live it as it works through you, then there's a transforming nature to it that isn't conscious.
Right.
All of a sudden Tammy noticed I wasn't reacting in ways I used to stimuli. And so when you take that into a business like radio where there's so much cynicism, did you ever have people come to you where you had a chance to witness?
Oh, yeah. Which one do I want to tell? I've had so many. It always starts the same way. Used to be emails, and then it became Facebook. But it would be they listen every day, and then one night I open up Facebook. Hey, can I ask you something? And that's how it always begins. And then when I tell you this, I mean, for about 15 people, they're in my phone and they're real friends. I had one who was homeless, and I used to message with him, pray with him. I'll never forget when he finally was ready he wrote a whole book, Homeless, from his car. And it's a great book. And then when he moved, he had no tires. And I said, we got to go put tires on. And I'll never forget, this is a true story. At that point, I think we had like $600 in the bank. And I spent it all on his tires. And I didn't even know. And I had kids. And I was like, oh, I don't know how we're going to eat. But, oh, well, God, I wasn't going to let him drive off without tires. And he's doing great now. And he went and got his degree. Graduated, homeless, wrote a book, Homeless. Now he's got a job. He's got his own company. He's doing great. But I have thousands of stories like that, literally every day. So most of it's off the air. Yeah. But yeah, they wouldn't know to call me until, if I wasn't on the radio. So yeah, it's like you're a full-time radio show host and then you're a pastor at night.
Yeah.
But it's not a matter of, I'll never forget, we had this Bible study when I was really young. And at that time, all I wanted to do was do a good Bible study, because that's the people you're looking up to. And I'll never forget, it was one day in the Bible study, one of the girls that was always quiet, never said anything. And we were doing this Bible study and she goes, I found that I can't glorify God until I stop trying to glorify myself through him. And I was like, and I don't think in 45 years anybody's topped that line. So I think if you have an authentic, when you're alone and no one's looking, real relationship with God, fed by years. I mean, just like years and years of hurt can build years and years of scar tissue. Well, years and years of revelation can build years and years of decreasing to where all that's left. I mean, I would say about 35, I didn't know what was me and what was Jesus. By 50, I don't remember even me. And I remember a lot of stuff before then. And you just really, transform into the very likeness of Christ. And when you're there authentically, now you're loving. Now you know when to shut up and just be. You know when to listen. You know when to help and point. You know when to encourage. Most people just don't want to be alone and be in it alone. I mean, life's pretty tough. And I've seen some people that the enemy has just literally ravaged, just viciously attacked, chewed up, dismembered, violently threw their scraps around. And then there are some that I've been able to make a difference. And that's what I'll remember. I won't remember. Well, I'll remember my wife. I'll remember my kids. I'll remember my dear friends. But that's all we take with us.
Now your kids, I don't know how to phrase this. Have they absorbed the faith, or
yes.
have they gone?
I remember,
because now the 20-year-olds are pretty much.
Yeah, no, they're. I have one that is very. It was always that. Well, I knew before she was born. I felt God revealed to me. You have one daughter that's going to be hard on herself like you. Teach her how to stay encouraged. But she's going to be a perfectionist, and she's going to make a big difference in this world. You handle her with care, and that has played out. So she's the world can't entice her in any way. She was his before she was. The scripture says, "I knew you while you were still in your mother's womb." Right. I'm telling you, while she was still in the womb, God said that, and I watched it grow up. But I remember I would try to over-teach them when they were young. I mean, they were like, and I didn't know better.
Did you give them exegesis?
Oh, I was doing.
I want to break down the Greek here.
I was doing trilogy. I was doing the Trinity when they were like 5. And I'll never forget. And I was like, is it almost over?
Michael, he's still eating dirt.
And then I got one little, my son has a real deep voice, and he had a deep voice even at 5. Now, Dad, I'm not going to say this is boring, but I am going to say I wish it was over too. But here's the bottom line to anybody that's a parent out there listening. And I think, there are ways you should teach them stories and stuff, but I think kids watch you live.
Right.
And
that's where I kind of, in hindsight,
they don't listen to anything you say. They watch what you live.
In hindsight, Tammy and I have talked about it. We wish we had more family Bible studies. We wish we had more of that. But my sons don't know me drinking. I quit a year into the marriage, so they saw me sober, and they saw the transformation, certainly, from what I was, and then after Christ. But we would take them to church, and I thought that was enough. And now that they both kind of walked away from, their the faith, it's disheartening. We're going through some issues with my oldest son now. He's got some medical issues, and Tammy said to him the other night, I know you don't really care, but we're praying for you. And when I was at the church working, I had the entire congregation pray for my son. And then the next day, some things happened, and there were changes with doctors, and people came in, and now he's going to get the care that he needs. And I wished I could call him and say, those prayers, man, they mean something, And to him, it would be, that's just a coincidence. It was,
Well, he won't be able to explain away a lifetime of coincidences.
No.
I mean, that's where we're in the loving business, and God's in the results business.
But I hear that from people all the time on the road. Other children are raised in the church, and they walk away.
Now, I prayed a lot for my kids. I probably prayed more than I tried to teach them. I prayed for them. And all I ever really wanted them to do was have a heart for God, and that we would always be a close family. And it's so funny because as they get older, because when you're a parent, you don't know if you're doing right. I'll never forget the first time we left the hospital. I was like, they're letting us leave with these two?
I was test.
It was like $100,000 a day at NICU, and now you're trusting them to me? But, it happens the same way every night. Andrew and I will be like in bed watching TV. One will come in, hit pause on the TV. Then another will come in. The other will come in. And then the cats will come in, then the dog will come in, and there we all are, 5,300 square feet. But we're all by my bed, and we'll sit that and do that. I mean, this is almost a night, not nightly now that they're in college, but weekends. We do it every weekend, and we sit there and talk for hours. And my wife and my children have been more entertaining than any Netflix show that's ever been created, and there's been some good ones. And we're close as a family, and they all have a heart for God. And I don't have to tell them we're going to church. They're anxious to get up and go to church with us. It's been wonderful. And so for somebody that for really 20 years was scared to death I wasn't doing anything right, God's mercy was there too.
Yeah.
But they saw a lot too. They saw I learned, my childhood takeaway was you can't love your kids any more than you love their mother. In other words, if you don't love their mother, it's hard to love a kid. So they saw me love their mother and cherish her. And I can tell how boys don't stand up. They're always compared to me. My daughters will tell you, I'm just looking for somebody like Dad, really loves God, but still cool and funny. Doesn't take himself too seriously, not boring, and I'm just watching. And then, he wants me to pay for the food. Dad would never, make us pay for our food, and Dad's giving us jewelry. Why don't they? So they break up with him. And then the problem is I like the boy, and I'm sad that the boy, there was this kid, Aiden, I loved him. He's going to be a doctor. He was so godly and so cherished my daughter, and she was like, I wasn't attracted to him.
See, it's funny though. We've talked about it. Tammy said we could pick better mates for our kids.
We could, right?
Remember
our kids better than
when
us?
they arranged marriages? Yeah, because I heard a pastor tell a story about he had this young woman in his congregation. Every week she's got the Bible, she's got the notes, she's got the thing. Just this beautiful. We do.
We're not going to change our daughter-in-laws.
Oh, well, yeah, this is a little side note.
Tammy update is we love our
show with a disclaimer.
They
I hope our daughter-in-laws
daughter-in-laws
know that we love them.
They are long listeners of the podcast.
Yeah.
They subscribe to the Patreon. We adore them.
Yes.
They're phenomenal.
Yes, they are. A little side note.
Where were we?
But anyway, he was telling a story about this beautiful young woman. Every Sunday, front and center with the notes, the Bible, and just an amazing, God-fearing woman. And she hooks up with the ball-back cap and the slouch, and anyway, she ends up getting married to the guy.
Oh,
and he said within 6 months they were in my office counseling, and anyway, he gave her a child, and then 2 years in, her brain kicked in again, and she booted him out. Put him out. But he said, as a pastor, as an outside observer of, I wanted to kind of intervene and go, no, there's a lot of young men.
Yeah,
in this place.
I don't really want anybody to get married too young. For me anyway, I wasn't of sound mind till 30. I don't, and I've told Nick, my son, I said, look, if you really like somebody and I ever look at you seriously and I go, no, Nick, trust me. Yeah, that's our little pact. But I suspect they won't listen any more than we listened.
No.
But that's
I was
all,
30.
That's all you pray for, right? That you marry well.
When did you get married? What age?
I was married once young, and then I waited a long time. Andrew and I met when I was 30, and I got married at 35.
Wow.
I made her wait 5 years. I wish I had credit for those 5 because we just celebrated 25 years.
Wow.
Wow.
Tammy and I met on a Tuesday at midnight. We were married on Wednesday. That's
So were you in Vegas? Where were you?
No.
Elvis marry you? What happened?
It was pretty quick.
By the way, when Elvis was alive, did Elvis impersonators?
weddings?
Did they do weddings?
That was the greatest line in a movie. You ever see Garden State? Oh, watch Garden State. But one of the lines I'll never forget was, wouldn't it be cool if Elvis was alive, living in Vegas,
Marrying
as an
people.
Elvis impersonator? So he's got all these people screaming at him, "You're not the king." You don't sound anything like the king.
I was having a ball being single and, having a great life. And one day there was nothing to talk about.
So you met her in Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma. And me and Rick Corey, who was doing the afternoon show with me, we were looking for things to talk about. And they had all the Miss Oklahoma pageant girls' pictures in the paper. All 40 of them.
That's how you
whatever.
guys used to do dating apps.
Yeah, well, that was long before that.
Yeah.
That was the
newspaper.
And so we started.
1990.
We started.
dating
Yeah,
app.
this was 95. And so we were like cynically going, they want to call it a scholarship pageant. Look at these two. These two are going to win. And so then we got the idea, well, what if we had them on? And so I created this whole prize that was hilarious. Not a new car, but $10 worth of quarters for the Spot Not Car Wash. And a weekend on Michael's boat with dry rot. And so we interviewed both of them. And then I remember saying, we made her Miss Big Show, Andrea. And I remember saying, well, whether you win or lose, we're doing a remote Monday. Can you come be on the show? And she said, sure. And I had a house full of people for a Tommy Morrison fight. And I kept flipping on the pageant. And I saw her do her piano. And then I met her. And I remember I walked in and I said, who's the Indian in the kitchen? Is that your chaperone? She goes, no, that's my mother. Got off to a really good start with her.
Right.
But I mean, I knew the minute I walked in the room, I just knew that was my wife. And I've never not known it since. And
Yeah,
30 years
that's
together.
adorable.
25 years. Yeah. So, I mean,
that's cool.
all the great things that happened in my life just happened instantly, I think. Like I heard the word, became a Christian. Saw my wife, married for life till death.
Which works great if you make good choices, because I've made with the wrong.
Well, no, I think when I'm down
I'm
wrong.
thinking the same thing. I act instinctively too.
Yeah, and
turns
it
out I got
never
some pretty
pans
crappy-
out.
No, it's when I know something. When I know something instantly, it's right. When I'm studying and looking for it and searching for it and trying to make it. I mean, to me, the biggest thing in life was stop seeing people for what you wish they were and see them for what they really are. I was really bad about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That and trying to fix wounded people. All the classic stuff we all do. when we're
Tam and I have a 3 rule. Certainly with finances, if we try to force our way into a situation to purchase something, and that door gets slammed shut 3 times, we're done. Because every time we've gone like 4 or 5 times, finally wiggled our way in, it ended badly.
Every time I wanted to do something and my wife didn't, it turned out badly. So I don't even do 3. I just do 1. If she doesn't like the idea, I don't do it.
Yeah. Did you ever buy something on credit that you were shocked that they gave you? I mean, I was in the middle of, we were having a tough
Every
time.
day of my life.
It's
But go ahead.
so funny to me. I don't know why it popped into my head. We were broke, flat busted, broke. Owed the IRS tens of thousands. I mean, anyway. So just for kicks, we go to a car dealership. And the next thing you know, I'm signing papers and I'm going, the guy left the room and I'm looking at, are they giving me this guy? Don't they know?
Was this before 2008?
No, yeah, it was.
Because I have a feeling how that shook out.
Yeah, no, it was 93 or 90. It was a Taurus.
Tell her about the 90s.
Yeah, the
Tell me
90s.
more about the 90s.
Yeah.
Go on,
What year
Papa.
were you born?
I'm old. I'm pretending like I'm young. 89.
Oh, okay.
So you're
Yeah.
not old.
December 89. So I was born 2 weeks before 1990.
Michael's wedges
so I saw
are that
it.
old.
They used to be. It's got a new one.
I'm glad to hear that.
So what was the 93 car? What was it?
It was a Ford Taurus.
Ooh.
Really nice, fancy schmancy car.
Bubbly.
And they repossessed it months later. And Tammy called me. This was I used to do this in my testimony because it was kind of the husband I'd been. I was out of town, and she goes, "You knew this was coming. Your boys are in the driveway, and they're hauling their daddy's car away. You coward." You know.
These are the lessons you need to learn.
You could have mentioned that the repo man was coming. You know, before you know. Anyway, yeah, it was just one of those things. When you were talking about instant decisions, you know, again, I'm signing. I realize, are they giving me this? You know, at that time, $30,000. I go, I have no money. I gave. I don't lie. I didn't fill out a. Anyway, it's just to sell.
Obviously, they needed to make a number that month, and you were it.
And then Tammy's dad comes to live with us, and he goes to get an oil change in Dixon, and he comes back with a $42,000 Ford Taurus show. He's 78 years old. He has no money, and she's out in the garden. And I said, "You got to see this." So as she hits the roof, and I'm laughing. She goes, "It's not funny." I go, "It ain't my car." I didn't, you know. I said, "The repo man will be coming. This is what keeps him in business."
I'm hearing this story and I'm thinking like, okay, that was the early 90s. I can kind of see where things started to maybe skew a little bit for the rest of us and got a little off track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Living beyond our means.
Yeah, a smidge. And we're in Ramsey country.
Right.
I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about credit pre-Ramsey Cruise.
Well, I had a guy give me my best financial advice ever. He said, "I'll give you one tip. It'll save you a lot of money." I go, "What?" He goes, "Never buy anything on credit that depreciates in value."
Yeah,
That should
that's a good
eliminate
call.
99% of your credit. You know, the
You're
house.
telling me that the Ford Taurus didn't go up in
No,
value?
it doesn't.
No.
Are
Apparently.
you sure?
No, I'm positive.
Really?
Yeah, positive. The only thing would have made it more valuable if I, robbed the bank in it, and then it would have been some historically.
I'm just sitting here wondering if I got a cheap deal on a Ford. Did you say Focus? What was it?
Ford
Taurus.
Taurus? No, I never owned a Taurus. I was going to say maybe I got your repoed car.
That'd be hilarious.
But mine was a Mustang. See if I
Oh, Tammy's first car was a 66?
Mustang?
Yeah,
Oh, they're the
that's
best.
worth. Her brother just bought a 1958 completely restored Corvette.
Oh, how sweet.
Yeah,
I love old cars, but I couldn't live without the technology.
yeah. Well, they got them where they
put all that in?
it in.
Yeah.
yeah.
That I
the
could.
resto mods.
So it runs like $160,000 or something.
No,
Cars is
are
my
nice.
weakness. That's why.
Cars and shoes.
Me? Oh, for you.
Yeah.
I was like,
cars and shoes. Both.
I was like, oh, because I'm a woman? That was harsh. No. Cars and shoes, of course. And I'm like, I'm wearing a ripped up sweatshirt.
No,
You think I'm going
I can
shoe
relate to
shopping?
cars and shoes.
Cars, shoes, and jewelry.
Yeah, not jewelry.
Yeah.
No, I think God keeps my financial means in check because I'd be that obnoxious car person. It'd be ridiculous. That's my,
Really?
yeah, that's
my grandson. Like a car will go by, a really exotic car. And Tammy will go, "Oh, a Lamborghini," and Caden goes, "It's a McLaren."
Yeah.
We're in Brentwood. It's
Yeah.
a McLaren.
It's a McLaren.
We have
McLaren.
standards.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah.
He loves the Cybertruck. What are your thoughts on the Cybertruck?
It's
I want to
ugliest-
get two perspectives.
Ugliest thing
Okay.
I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't even like
Not
for
even
a second.
remotely.
Okay, these are my thoughts, my honest thoughts. One, I do think it's weird to take a 3-dimensional world and create something that looks 2-dimensional. It
Mhm.
looks like Minecraft. It's very weird.
Yes.
But what bums me out so much is you'll see them wrapped with like a little bit of color, but you have all that flat surface and the creativity you could do with like wrapping and doing all sorts of different things. I'm interested to see when people start like modding them out a little bit more than
like
they
they used
have
to do
been.
with the VW buses.
Yeah.
Back in the
But they're so expensive that I would imagine people are too nervous maybe to get in there. And
Well, how many times have you seen the Cybertruck?
here, way too
I
many.
see one
Probably every day.
close to every day.
Really? And you haven't? I'm telling you, the more I look at them,
You're starting to like them?
It wouldn't fit in my garage, so I could never do it. I mean, I keep looking at it, going, it's with that Mad Max type thing, and
Yeah.
the tank kind of.
She nailed it. Minecraft is the. I mean, they make the original rockets that they were making looked phallic. this looks like Minecraft. I don't know. Maybe the more brilliant you are, the more you give me I mean, I would much prefer. I mean, well, the new GMCs are really nice pickup trucks, but I mean, I just love the way an old pickup truck looks.
I love old Apache trucks.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just start scrolling on those bad chickens, and then I can't get off. I'm like,
Tammy we had a 1987 Ford F-150 for the longest time, and it was a death trap. I mean, I finally hit the brakes on Highway 100, and I flew into the next lane.
Oh, well, that would be
and
a
I
sign.
went home, and I said, we're selling the truck. So anyway, we get some 19-year-old kid, and I'm standing in the driveway going, the minute you get out my driveway, you own this thing. I'm telling you, it's a death trap. He goes, sir, this is exactly what I was looking for. And I've been waiting for him to drive by, completely restored.
Or slide in.
Yeah.
you know what's weird though is like the square body Fords were so sexy looking, and I wish they would bring that back.
Really?
And the Cybertrucks are almost square body. But it's like, why does that old Ford, like that Bronco straight body, why does that look so
I'm trying to
good?
remember what dealership. I think it's BMW. It's technically in Brentwood, but it's BMW of Nashville. They have an old, you want to talk about, this was like the perfect for me. But it was, I think, like a 75, maybe 77 Bronco, all restored to brand new. And it was
Oh, that's
gorgeous with the
awesome.
green paint and all the,
Oh, wow.
oh, just jaw dropping. And then they wanted like 160,000 for it. But yeah, like that, if you could take an old pickup from that era and make it look brand new again, that would be my,
Yeah, I
there's
see the
something
ones
about
that
that.
restore mostly of the 50s with the round.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of cool looking body on it. And, but we picked up the Explorer Sport Track, not knowing that we would need a bigger bed
yeah.
to haul things in. So I drive down to the dump and litter the highway with. Have to go back, and I'm going to get run over on it. All those years I jogged on Highway 196, never got hit. I'm going to get hit picking up the crap that flies out of my pickup truck. So
That's so funny.
Where's a trash repo man when you need one?
absolutely.
But I think the Cybertruck, I've noticed when I talk to people about it, it's their opinion on Elon Musk shapes a lot of people, how they feel about the Cybertruck. Like my husband in particular, Brent, can't stand Elon Musk. So anything Tesla, he's like, I don't understand why they do it.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Now, see, I like Elon Musk. I like Teslas. I don't own one, but
I'm too absent-minded.
I just think that truck is ugly.
Yeah, we have a Tesla because we wanted to support the coal industry. So I bought it because of you. That's
I was
right.
telling the Chaz
That's
story?
Right, you told the Chaz story, and I'm driving around. She calls me, and I listen to it, and then I go to Chaz's office. He takes me for a test drive.
Yeah, it almost sold me.
Next thing you know, I'm buying it.
I just don't want to plug anything in. Besides, I never know. I may need gas to make a getaway.
Well, we have a gas car.
Yeah, as long as you got one.
I've driven one, and I could see if you had the money laying around, it would be so hard.
What I
that
don't-
like 0 to 60.
I like a cockpit,
oh my god!
though, and then all you have is just like a laptop sitting there. Now, I like that the car can fart.
That was a high
That was
on my
huge.
list.
High priority.
And they've taken that feature away, by the way. In the
They
new
have?
one. Yeah.
Oh my
But
gosh,
I just
we
couldn't
got
get
a
over
collector's item.
The blandness. Oh,
Why are
still
they
farts?
taking it away?
Yeah.
Did
Oh.
they give you a reason?
Unless it
I
doesn't.
think, well,
They may have taken. She keeps whispering.
I don't know if
That's-
I don't know if they removed it. Yeah, you could probably add the app, but that was
Wow.
what sold me. That and then the
You
pic-
got two crying kids in the backseat of the car, man. A car that farts.
Oh, that'll.
That's a winner
That's a pacifier, man.
every time.
Every time. I
Yeah.
keep telling Tammy for years, farts is funny. You know.
Except for when it's your dog under the table while we're doing the podcast.
she never liked the Ernest movies. Remember the? Did you
Oh,
take
they-
your boy to see the Ernest?
No, I did not.
Oh my
But,
God. That's
didn't
right.
they-
You were a good father. I
But
forgot.
didn't they film that here at
Yeah,
Montgomery Bell? Yeah.
Jim Varney.
Or now we call him Dale Jones.
That's right.
They look like
could be.
identical.
Yeah, they could be.
Yeah, it's
Dale.
crazy.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, what, did they change his name after death? But this somebody looks like him then, right?
All right, so
Yeah. Do we
What
just
do you-
go till somebody passes out? How long do we go here?
what do you
Usually
got?
until my legs give out. and
Actually,
then
I
we
was just looking
say-
for a way to tie this all into a nice little ribbon. What do you got coming up? What charities are you? This will probably air, later than today. So
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
a
the
lot.
plane crash will be way in the
So anyway,
past.
I know. Are you
It'll
doing
be
the tunnels to
conspiracy.
towers?
There's the golf tournament.
June
that
2nd.
and then we're going to have the fundraiser the Friday night before. Great organization. You know, life is a journey, not a destination. So just on the air every morning. The show is growing market by
Yeah,
market.
here in Tennessee, WLAC, and then, like you said, market to market.
Yeah, and then you go on the iHeartRadio app and just Google Your Morning Show or Michael DelGiorno, and you'll find it. And pick
and-
the city you want to listen to it in. But we just added Detroit and Albuquerque just last week, and just excited about what God's doing. This is all Him.
Well, I'm so happy for you.
Came
man.
out of nowhere.
You know, when we were on that golf course, I know that you were worried, and then to get that call that you got picked up. Not only that, but the fact that the rest of the country is catching on to what we all knew here in Nashville for
No,
years.
thanks.
How good you really are at what you do. He's one of the best, if not the best.
And you're in great hands with Glenn Beck and all them. That's
That should
beautiful.
keep us in business a while, huh?
Yeah.
Well, just he's the lead into Beck. You know, he gets it running.
Yeah.
And the
It's
cool
cool.
thing is, because by the time 8 o'clock hits, we're into our days. So when we get up in the morning and we flip you on, you're on. Tammy wakes up at 5:30. So
Yeah, I've noticed the West Coast people. That's crazy. They, like in LA and San Francisco and Seattle, Portland, Sacramento, Phoenix. It's like, well, Phoenix is an hour closer, but these people are up at 3 a.m. And I was
Yeah,
fascinated.
they have to get through traffic.
Well, no,
What do
it's
we
not
do?
that. It's that they do business with the East Coast. So they have
they
to
don't think you're Art Bell, do they?
No. But I mean, they are the most I think there are more people up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast than up. I think a lot of people in Nashville are still asleep by the time I'm done.
If I lived out there, I wouldn't sleep well either.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
My dad had to be at work at 2 a.m. every day. He left the house to fight traffic to get to Century City.
Wow, that early?
Yeah.
Well, then there's that too.
He'd leave work at 2, get home at 6.
What did he do?
It was crazy. He was a scenic artist for 20th Century Fox
Oh, neat.
in the movie business. Yeah. It's a nice
I
guy.
figured when you said Century City, he was probably.
That explains your ability to draw. We're gonna interview each other
Someday. We don't. Who are you again? Hi, I'm
I know.
Carollynn.
I'm Jeff. Nice
Nice
to meet you. Yes. Anyway, Michael.
I'm Michael Eyebrows. And,
Michael, good looking eyebrows.
Well, that'll be a hashtag for this one. Hashtag eyebrows.
Hashtag Eyebrows.
So we'll grab those in, and the bulldogs and the lizards and the Cybertrucks.
And sadly, I have never done stand-up comedy again.
Well, yeah, I'm working the. Oh, anyway, we'll talk.
well,
off
if you
air
want to go
about
to the Bahamas.
this. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for.
It's the last time I had a really good set.
If you hung with us this long, thank you.
And get a life.
And get a lift.
Hit the subscribe button. It's going to be up there, down there, somewhere around. And we really only live by your shares. If you really like what you see, like what you hear, share it with the people you love. And if you don't like what you see or hear, share it with the people you really don't like. We don't care. We just want bodies and ears, right, Michael?
That's
It's
it. Warm
bodies and
bodies.
ears. That's all it is.
On the air and spots are clearing.
That's it, baby. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
God bless you.
Did you fall asleep over there?